My name is William S. Harris. I go by Bill, and I have been practicing law here in Tarrant County for 40 years. Well, we've talked about legal issues that a person might face once they use their gun in self-defense throughout this conversation. But generally, the first is they may be charged either with aggravated assault or with murder. Then they're going to need to defend themselves against that charge. Self-defense is what's called a justification. Necessarily, you cannot say, I didn't kill Cock Robin, but if I did, it was self-defense. Because you have to admit that, yes, you are the person that committed the act for which you're charged. Then, because it's a justification, you're saying, I was justified in doing so because of the circumstances surrounding it. And generally speaking, with some exceptions, everything almost always has exceptions, but generally speaking, whether you are reasonable in what you did is going to be looked at by a jury from your viewpoint, not from an objective viewpoint. So those things are working in your favor. You might experience, and this is a totally different ballgame, you might experience civil liability issues. That's a different but parallel system within the law. A lot of people don't realize that. Civil law is parallel to, but not the same as, criminal jurisdiction. For example, for many, many thousands of years, well, okay, let's not get carried away, for hundreds of years, rape has been both a civil lawsuit basis and it has also been a crime, which we now call sexual assault, but originally we called rape also. The difference is that if you're the person who has been the victim of a wrongful act, you may sue in civil court for damages because of that wrongful act. If it's your loved one who has been killed, you may sue for wrongful death. You may also have a common law self-defense defense in civil court, but it is not necessarily the same statutory defense that we've been talking about for criminal actions. Those two things run side by side. The difference is that you as the person bringing the suit in a civil case are replaced by the state, the government, as the person bringing the suit for breaching what once was called the King's Peace and now it's the criminal law. That system is one in which what we call the complainant, who may be deceased or may be wounded, the complainant is merely a primary witness or a part of the crime, not the person that controls it. It's controlled by the state through the district attorney. So these are the basic consequences. Liability on the civil side, liability for going to the penitentiary on the criminal side, and the two will run somewhat parallel, but one will not necessarily resolve the other. For example, you may be found not liable in civil court and yet still be found guilty if a different jury in a criminal court decides beyond a reasonable doubt that you're guilty, that you're not entitled to self-defense. Normally speaking, most civil judges are not going to try a civil suit before the criminal charges are resolved. So usually it would work the other way around. Yet, and O.J. Simpson's a real good example of this. The fact that you're acquitted in a criminal trial where the burden of proof is the highest burden we have, beyond a reasonable doubt, does not protect you from subsequent prosecution in a civil case where the burden of proof is 2 steps lower, proof by preponderance of the evidence.